welcome back to another episode of Real Estate Renovators. My name's Chanell and this is Rex, and Real Estate Renovators is the business advisory show for real estate professionals. How are we, Rex?
I'm well. I'm super excited. We have our first Rising Stars episode. I've been wanting to do this for so long. You want to tell them what it is?
Absolutely. So every now and then in real estate, we come across individuals who are achieving extraordinary results in a really short period of time. So the concept of Rising Stars is to bring on two different agents from two different offices, but they both have achieved one thing, Rex, and that is extreme success in the industry for such a young age.
The future of our industry.
It is the future of our industry. And I don't think success doesn't come easy. There's a lot of, hard work, a lot of determination, but also it comes down to working for the right brand and having the right training and mentorship in place. And both of the agents that we have on the show today, I think, come to us with, the determination and the extraordinary skill set. Well, one of them was my doing. The other, unfortunately, wasn't. But
he does better. Anyway.
Why is there in competition with you?
No.
Mr. Olive in a martini glass.
Oh,
Did you want to shake hands today? You actually can't bend in that suit today, can you?
It's really tight. Anyway, who are our guests?
So today we have Nat McAsey from Buxton in Port Phillip.
Not related to you?
Unfortunately not. Unfortunately not. Although we have very similar personalities and I would say very similar mannerisms, we're unfortunately not related. And Alec Stefanoski, I'm not going to pronounce that correctly, Stefanovic, something along those lines, I'll get him to pronounce it, from Woodards in Manningham. So we're going to now introduce our guests and have a bit of a chat to them about their success in the industry.
Looking forward to it. Welcome, Nat. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here, despite your offensive joke just then about at my expense.
It wasn't at your expense whatsoever.
It was.
It wasn't even at you. It was more directed at her not placing.
Are you trying to say men are better in sales and real estate than women? Is that the angle you're trying to take?
We're getting into the nitty gritty already, aren't we? I love it.
Straight
It was
in.
nothing like that. It was more about someone placing yourself and not someone else. Anyway.
There we go.
Nat, tell us about yourself. New to real estate to some extent?
To some extent, yeah. I've been in the industry since I was actually 17. So firstly, Chanell, thank you for calling me young. I'm very grateful for that comment. But since I was 17, but in sales for 4 years, coming up in about 10 days. So it's just around the corner now.
So initially in real estate, you property management, admin, what were you doing initially?
A little bit of everything. Started on reception, worked my way up through property management.
How was that transition?
Yeah, it was good. I really enjoyed it at the time. I think property management has definitely changed over the last few years, that's for sure. So shout out to the property managers out there. It's definitely getting more challenging. And then eventually into a business development role. So that transition, it was actually really natural into sales, and it was actually Shani that placed me.
Wow.
So there we go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Anything to say about that?
Done a great job.
And how was that transition, Nat, from BDM to sales? Because it's not easy to go from the stability of a base salary and I guess more of a stable role where BDM, you are still out prospecting, but not to the level of sales. So how did you find that transition, and to what extent did Buxton help get you across the line to transitioning into sales?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, as you know, it was actually a long consideration for me. It was something that we talked about for a really long time. We had a few moving parts behind the scenes. We'd bought a property, or we were just about to buy a property. So, and it was our first home. So there were a few avenues, I guess, that we needed to talk about before I did make that transition. But I spoke to Arthur, I think, for about 6 months, 5 or 10 interviews, something like that.
Wow.
So a really, really lengthy process, because he really wanted me to understand as well the differences from being in property management and, like Shani touched on, having a base salary and then moving into what would be a sales role. So the transition was relatively easy for me, but with that being said, it is a very, very different style of role, that's for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. What did you find the biggest challenges were, Nat, when you transitioned over?
I think the sacrifice that a lot of real estate agents make in order to have a successful career. There's a lot of long hours, it's weekend work, you give up a lot of time with friends and family, you miss out on certain events, there are birthdays and, parts of people's lives that unfortunately when you work all day on Saturday, it is a sacrifice. So I think that for me was probably the biggest challenge that I certainly had, and adjustment moving from sort of a 9 to 5 role. Yeah.
And going into sales without any background, new office as well, by the sounds of it, like, how is it you don't have a database really of your own, you don't have the reputation of it, how was it to build that?
It takes time. Yeah, it definitely takes time. And what I would suggest to anyone that is looking to make that transition or is really new into the industry is master the basics first. You know, really align yourself with a company and with potentially a director or a sales person that is out there listing and selling, doing really well, and really, you know, emulate them to some extent and work alongside them and master the basics first. You know, learn to run a really successful buyer file, learn to run an auction campaign, start to, you know, incorporate some vendor management, and really just to start to master those basics first, and, you know, then you will have eventual success.
And what does success look like?
I think it's really, it's different for everyone. It's subjective, right? For me, it's being able to have the financial stability, being able to buy a property, I think was really exciting for us, and be able to go overseas. And, you know, my husband is in the army, and that was a massive transition for us. So still being able to afford to do a lot of things that we wanted to do, and really love what you do. I think you have to be passionate about it, otherwise it just won't work out.
What do you think, Nat, sets you apart? I mean, I know a lot of agents that have done 4 years in the industry, and they're trying to master the basics, and they're going to their Tom Panos training, and they're doing all the right things, but they haven't achieved the results that you have. What sets you apart? What really got you to where you are today?
I think just don't overcomplicate the process. Absolutely love what you do. Be really passionate about it, and just one step at a time. Never compare yourself with anyone else, I think, is really key advice. Like, don't compare yourself with other agents in the industry. Don't compare yourself to your colleagues, and don't look to Instagram for, you know, for any sort of influence. Just stay in your lane and do what you need to do. And I think just stay really committed and focused, and you will get there.
How did you find being a female in a male-dominated industry? Do you think
Is
you
it
worked?
male-dominated?
Well, I mean, absolutely. If you look at a real estate sales office, the comparison from men to women, it's.
But the industry's probably got, if not more females than males.
Well, I mean, I still would classify real estate as a more male-dominated industry. If you look at if someone says real estate sales agent, you instantly think male. Do you not?
I don't.
You don't. For the sake of arguing, of course, who doesn't?
I think it's a really interesting question, and I definitely still find certainly the sales side predominantly more male dominated. But I do think it's important not to necessarily always look at it like male and female. Like, I look at people and I think of people, right? So, but there are people out there that do. There are challenges sometimes with being a female agent. You know, I've had my own listings and I've been asked not to take the lead on the actual.
So the vendor asked you not to be the lead?
They asked me not to be the lead agent. And I think sometimes it's really difficult to separate yourself as what you're perceived to be as the PA, right? Like, being the female sales agent, you are often mistaken as just being the PA.
Oh, wow.
And I
Do you
think
have a male PA or a female PA?
I don't know many male PAs in the industry, to be
You should
fair.
hire someone. Why aren't you hiring male PAs?
There's actually one starting with them in about a week or so.
I know, yeah, it's really exciting. So I think, as I say, trying to just separate yourself from just being perceived as kind of just a PA. Nothing wrong with being a PA, obviously, but when you are trying to establish yourself and build a career as a serious listing and selling agent, it is something that sometimes does come up. You know, and it can be hurtful. Like, it really can be hurtful. But, you know, you just carry on, keep your head up, carry on, and just kick some ass.
I think you've got a huge advantage, Nat, because particularly in your marketplace, you've got a lot of first home buyers, you've also got a lot of mum and dad investors. So the beauty of being a female, and no disrespect to any male agents out there, females instantly build trust.
Yes.
So it's so much easier to actually get in the door, because as females, we're perceived as more trustworthy, particularly in a sales role. So I think that could potentially have a huge impact in your success. Something I always want to mention, Nat, how much do you think your particular marketplace has played in the success for you? So in terms of your demographic and area, is it suited to you? And do you think if you were to recreate your skill set in another market, like say Manningham or Brunswick, you would be as successful?
It's an interesting question. Zoe in our office always says, our area and where we're sort of listing and selling, it's somewhat a beauty and a curse because we have a lot of apartments that we sell in our area. It's high density, so we obviously have the ability to list more, right? So numbers are kind of increased there, but our fees are significantly lower.
Yeah.
So it really is a balancing act. But I think what you said about, females being able to build trust really quickly is really true. And just having empathy for the clients is really, really important. Like, people are making enormous financial decisions in their life. And I think that a lot of agents can take that for granted. It's not your right to be sitting in someone's living room to be helping them on that process. That's something that I think is really special. So, I think taking that really seriously. But to answer your question, would I be successful somewhere else? You can't change work ethic, and I would outwork a great number of my competitors every day of the week.
Love that.
Interesting. I've got a tattoo, will not be outworked on my ankle.
You do.
I love that.
Thank you. What's the future hold?
What does the future hold? That's really interesting. I'm at a really interesting point in my life. I'm 33 years old. So, for us, we're probably looking at having a family soon. And I would love to remain in, being a listing and selling agent and being able to show that you can do both. So that's something that's sort of on the cards for us over the next couple of years. And then for me, it would certainly be on the road to a directorship.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Cannot wait to see where that brings you, Nat. And I have
Thank
absolutely
you.
no doubt in my mind that you will achieve anything that you've set your mind to, as I've watched you achieve over the last 4 years in real estate. We'll be right back with Natalie and Alec, but for now, we're going to bring on Alec. Welcome to the set. Alec, how are you?
Yeah, really good. Thanks for having me.
Alec, how do you say your surname? Because I think she stuffed it up a few times.
Chanell, you can go ahead.
How do you say your surname?
Carl Stefanovic.
Close. Very close.
No relation?
I'm his brother. I'm his better looking brother.
Looking absolutely fantastic today,
Thank
Natalie
you.
and
I
Alec.
appreciate it. It's been years.
They look good.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming on the show, Alec. We've been wanting to get you on the show for a while because I think you've got a fascinating story and I want to delve into it because you're an example of people, someone who doesn't take no.
Yeah.
Who keeps getting pushed down a little bit, but keeps getting up and keeps going forward. So my understanding is that you had a few real estate, up to 4 different bosses in the past.
Yep.
And what did they all say to you?
Well, I'm very experienced at rejection. I don't think anyone's better at rejection than me. So that's a big gloat.
Yeah.
I started at 19 in real estate. I went through 4 different real estate firms. All of them pretty much told me, real estate's not for you. Got to 24 and decided, you know what? I'm stupid enough to give it one more crack. So I went to Stacey Adrimus at Woodards. He gave me the mentorship and the leadership which I needed, which I probably wasn't getting the previous 5-6 years. And, been pretty decent ever since.
Well, you won REIB Salesman of the Year this year. So
More than decent results.
Yeah.
What was it about those other offices that you feel like they were saying that it wasn't for you? Like, where was the lack of training, or was it just...
But the offices are big
They're all
offices.
good offices,
They're not-
very highly regarded
Yeah.
offices too. They're all good agents in their own right. I feel like when you begin in real estate, you're young, you're 19, you're 20, you're very ambitious. The number one thing you want to do is you want to go to the biggest writers, the highest commission earners, and you want to go, okay, you teach me how you operate and I'll be like a sponge. But really, when an agent gets to start, $4 million, $5 million, $7 million GCI, their focus shifts from training you and, leading you, mentoring you to, slave is not the right word, but like you become like a gopher for them in a way.
Yeah.
You just run around, you do the errands, you pick up the dry clean. You're not really getting
Learning.
taught, the skills, the techniques, the negotiation. But when you go to a more boutique agency or someone who's maybe on the way up, but a lot lower in GCI, they've got a lot more time to spend with you, and that's where I find the magic happens.
I mean, if someone tells you 4 times... I don't
4
think
different people, not one
4
person.
different people tell you...
Must have been pretty good. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I'm going to say,
Yep.
any point did you feel like maybe it's not for me?
100%. Every single time I left a job, I went home and I went, all right, that's it. Time to find a new career. What am I doing in real estate?
What made you keep going forward? The drive, to determination. You didn't take no for an answer, clearly.
And rejection handling is one of the biggest skills you need as a successful sales agent. So you've
It
already
is.
mastered that before
very
going
good.
in.
I learned that in my dating life. But
Still happening, I see.
yeah. And tell my girlfriend, no, I'm joking. So basically, when you're 19, you're 20, 21, 22, you look around and you go, okay, what do I want to do for the rest of my life? And I noticed all the agents who had made it, they had amazing work-life balance. They had great money, they had a great career, they all looked pretty satisfied. So I kept seeing the carrot, like the gold at the end of the tunnel. I said, you know what, if I can just push past, the shit period where you're pushing hard and you got to eat dirt for a bit, I know when you get to the other side, you're going to be happy, you're going to be very fulfilled as an agent and as a person. So, I don't know, it's a mixture of
Could see light at the end of
stupid
the
ambition,
tunnel.
or what do you call it, like being naive, but very healthy ambition as well.
Yeah.
It's a drive as well.
Definitely drive. Yeah. When you believe in yourself deep down, no outside noise and no external noise can kind of creep in. Because deep down, you know what? I'm happy to outwork the competitors. I'm happy to stay back to the office till 7 to 8. I'm happy to do the things that other agents aren't happy to do to get to where I want to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, Rex, you continue.
Is that what happened, though? So when your current role, you're doing well now, salesperson of the year, what made you get there?
I'm going to go on a bit of a tangent here, but
Please.
5 years ago, I think I was the PA to Stacey at 25, 24, 25. And I wasn't really happy where I was in life. I was sitting there, I was living with Dad on 40K a year, PA role. A lot of my mates were, tradies, fully qualified, making good money, or they were maybe coming out of uni, making good money with a degree. And I was sitting there studying at the bottom again and going, you know what? I don't like where I'm at, but I'm going to set a plan. So I wrote down, okay, I'm 25 years old now. What will it look like if I had the perfect life at 30? So I wrote down a list of 5 things I wanted. And it wasn't just financial or real estate. It was, well, number 1, be a director of a real estate company. Number 2 was to drive a car I wanted to drive. Number 3 was to learn, mixed martial arts and have a fight.
You did?
And I did, yeah. Number 4, buy property. Number 5, I should know my number 5.
Real estate renovators.
I got real estate renovators. So dream to come true. So I wrote those 5 down, put in the shower, put it up in my bedroom wall, and every day I stared at that 5 goal list, and I went, okay, am I doing today? So is what I'm doing today getting me closer towards one of those 5 goals, or further away? So for example, like if I want to have an MMA fight, well, if I'm not training at 25, I'm not going to have a fight by 30. So I start training. Even when I felt like shit, I come home from work, I train, because I'm like, well, hey, you're going to have a fight by 30. So if you don't want to get your ass kicked, you better start training. I think buying the car, well, I need money for that. Becoming director, you got to be successful for that. So for me, it was all about writing high GCI. But you can't write high GCI without being an agent. You can't be an agent without being a very good PA. So when I was really grinding it as a PA, when I was really struggling as a PA, I'd look at that and go, you know what? If I can just get past the PA part, get to an agent, get past that part, I know I can hit that goal within 5 years.
Well,
Have you achieved all those goals?
I'm like 4 out of 5, and I
Great.
got about 6 months to go. So
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
you.
I speak to a lot of directors and I watch a lot of podcasts, don't watch podcasts, listen to a lot of podcasts, and writing down your goals is just the number one. It's such a fantastic tool, because it comes down to, and I talk about this a lot and it sounds a bit blah, blah, but it's your why.
Yep.
You have to know why you're doing something in order to be successful in it. Because if you don't have a goal or an outcome, every day becomes mundane. And real estate, realistically, in order to be successful, it's doing a series of tasks over a long period of time. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon.
an industry. It's being consistent.
That's exactly right. It is about being consistent. What I want to ask you, Alec, talk us through, you mentioned Stacey saw something in you and really believed in you. To what extent do you think Stacey's directorship and the Woodards brand has been to your success?
Oh, it was massive. Having a boutique approach from the agency and having a boutique approach from Stacey's my direct, I was a PA to him when I started, made all the difference in where I am today. So the difference was, I hope he doesn't mind me sharing this, but at the time, he was writing a lot less commission. He was writing, say, 500K. But he would have been probably 28, 29. So for me, at 24, 25, I looked at that and go, okay, he's ahead of where I am. He's on the way up. So he's got time to share with share with me where he went right and where he went wrong. Where when someone's writing $1 million or $2 million commission and above, they don't really have the care factor or the time to actually spend with you and guide you. So my advice to anyone starting off is don't look for the high flyers. Look for someone who's I shouldn't say don't look at the high flyer. Look at someone who might be on the way up instead of someone who's already at the top. Because once they're at the top, they may be a little bit over the whole training process. Whereas someone on the way up, they're willing to give you that time. They're on the way up. They're excited. You might be one of their first PAs. So they're going to give you 110%.
That is such a good point because they still have that excitement and that drive.
Yep.
What does the next 5 years in real estate look like for you, Alec?
For me, I'm hoping to be director within the next 6 to 12 months.
So that's the goal you haven't achieved yet.
Yeah, exactly.
So watch this space, everyone.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's happening.
We'll see. So that's my number one goal I'm focused on. And then from there, I really want to grow the business. I want to have people who are like me, like Stasi, who we can sort of transfer our skills to and, nurture the next generation of young agents all the way up and hopefully become one of the big players in the industry.
You're going to have another MMA fight?
Well, we say specific 5-year goals. Like, I know I sound a little bit wishy-washy, but it's because I'm waiting till I hit 30.
Yeah.
The moment I hit 30, I'm going to sit down and write a proper list, which will be very, very, very firm, very fixed, and very clear.
Love it.
Yeah.
Why wait?
Why wait? Because I want to finish what I started. And another thing I should mention as well, 2-3 years ago when we were in COVID lockdown, I was making inground on that top 5 list, but I did a really big, I can't call it ballsy, but it felt ballsy to me anyway. I did a big step in my eyes and I put it up on Instagram, the post of the top 5 goals. And the reason I did that,
I remember this.
Yeah. It wasn't to gloat. It wasn't to be like, oh, well, look at me. I hadn't achieved any of them.
Yeah.
It was more to put them up there and go, you know what?
Makes you accountable.
I'm accountable. Imagine how embarrassing, this is it now. It's out there for the world to see. If I don't hit these top 5 in the next year or two, how embarrassing. Like the entire Instagram, all social media will know.
You know what though, as well, Alec, at the start of every month, everyone in my office, we sit down, we do a morning meeting, we do our month goals, and then it's individual. And I have them write, it doesn't have to be, it can be as many goals as they want, but what they want to achieve this month. Then they share it out. So each person goes around and they share out their 5 goals or their 3 goals. When we share those goals, we then talk about what we can do to hold each other accountable.
Yep.
So right now, my team have a goal. All of them had a goal to do gym 3 days a week. So I went and got the membership. So I basically wanted them to focus on their health and fitness. So what we do now is we share the goals so that someone's holding you accountable to them.
Yep.
And the success that's played in just my business, in having goals that people are setting, but then having other people hold you to them helps you achieve that goal 10 times more than if you just to keep it to yourself.
Yeah, it's
like you can look at it every day and you can share it, but if you share it to the world and you put it out there, you're exactly right. Yeah. It's humiliating, or you're letting down other people, you're letting down yourself if you don't achieve them. That's exactly right.
And it wasn't like, you care so much about what people think. It was more like, you know what, have a bit of respect for yourself. And if you're going to put it out there and you got thousands and thousands of people looking at Instagram, it sounds bad, but it worked for me.
Yeah.
I looked at it like this, I'm like, you know what, I know there's a lot of haters out there. Not that I'm famous, I've hated, but there's a lot of people who are negative and they go, you know what, F that guy.
Yeah.
He's not going to achieve X, Y, Z. I'm like, I'm going to put it out there. So I've got no choice now but to hit those goals.
Yeah. You put it back up there with the tick boxes next to it?
Yeah, so exactly good. So every time I achieve one, say when I became a partner, I put it up and put a tick. I got the car I've always wanted, put it up there, put a photo with a tick.
Fantastic.
A lot of people are very private and like to hide their achievements. But for me, I'm like, you know what? It's all self-made, it's all self-earned. I know where I came from to where I am now. So I'm proud of what I've done. And if I haven't done something, I'm also happy to share that, I didn't achieve that either. So why can't I have the best of both worlds? If I don't achieve it, it's out there. If I do achieve it, it's out there.
It's being genuine.
Yeah, exactly.
We look forward to the next 5 years coming up soon.
Yeah,
stay tuned.
Really excited.
Stay tuned.
Well, next we're going to bring Natalie back on and we're going to talk about some advice that we can give to junior agents that are stepping into the industry and also directors that are potentially looking to attract high-performing talent like yourself and Natalie. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Real Estate Renovators. Thanks for being here, guys.
Thanks for joining us today on the show.
Thanks for joining us.
I think we're going to get replaced.
The younger versions, not the better versions.
Nat and Alec, thank you so much, firstly, for both sharing your stories of success in real estate. I don't think the 10-minute slot was enough. We could probably do a whole episode on both of your journeys. What we really wanted to know is younger agents that are watching this, and there's a lot of them. They're doing the work, they're putting their brands out there on social media. I personally watch it happen all the time. What advice do you both have to young agents that are wanting to achieve the successes that you have both achieved?
I was going to say, don't be fooled by the smokes and mirrors of real estate. Don't look at someone who's been 10 years... Yeah, social media. Don't look at someone 10 years into real estate, flashy car, flashy life, big holidays and go, oh, it must be easy. look at what they did behind the scenes 5-10 years prior to that,
And what is that?
which is cold calling. It's all the ugly stuff. It's cold calling,
The basics.
door knocking. It's in the office till 7-8 o'clock. It's missing dinners with your friends, missing birthdays because you're sitting there on a Saturday night making open callbacks. It's all the unattractive, unglamorous side of real estate.
But you need it.
Sorry, no, you go.
And I was going to say, I think really identifying market leaders is really important, and going to work alongside an agent that is going to help you, guide you, and really help you establish your own career and your own business within their business, I think is so important. Like, I feel so lucky to have the directors that I do that have been nothing but supportive of the transition into, my sales career, but also still there for me. Like, it's obviously been a pretty tough, 6-12 months for a lot of agents out there. And I think you're only ever as good as the people that you're also around. And, if you surround yourself with successful people or people that are there to help you, guide you, you are going to be okay as well.
I think that resonates with both of you. Both have this love for your workplace.
I absolutely
And
love,
very
yeah,
lucky.
yeah,
Very
so
lucky to be
lucky.
where we are.
Yeah, and also your personal lives though. You both have lovely partners. You're obviously achieving purchasing properties and all these things. What extent do you think your personal life will play in the success of your career?
Can you elaborate on that?
Do you think that? Like, do you think that?
Can I just
Yeah, you go.
your partners? Does it make a difference what your partner's like?
But also your lifestyle choices, like, going to I know you're both active people. You both go to the gym. You both have great
go to the same
partners
gym.
and
We've
support
just-
you.
yeah.
Like,
Shout
what-
out to Hello Gym South Melbourne.
Yeah.
For membership now.
Exactly. Reduce it down. I think having a really supportive partner is so important, because it is a lot of hours. You're always on the phone. Like, I feel so bad. My parents are here at the moment, and all I've done this week is work and take calls. And, it's a really busy time for us. Like, sales are picking up again. And so to have supportive family and partner around you is really, really important. And, my husband, Ben, has been nothing but, and I feel really grateful for that.
Yeah.
Along with all of my friends as well. They never give me a hard time. They understand, don't invite me out on a Friday night. I'm not coming.
Yeah.
Like, I've got a massive day Saturday that's never going to change. They don't make plans on Saturday during the day. Like, they always try and work in with me to some extent, and I'm really grateful
really
for that.
important.
Definitely.
Because it is. Yeah, I just think it's so important. Yeah.
I feel bad for our partners because I know between 9 to 7, which is a long time, 9 a.m. to 7 p.m, she knows pretty much my partner not to call me.
Yeah.
Not in a rude way, but don't call me unless it's an emergency because the days are so back to back to back to back.
Yeah.
We don't really have time, like normal couples, to just call and be like, hey, how's your day going around 2 p.m? Because we're usually so frantic.
It's even holidays as well. Like, you don't work, you don't get paid. When you go on holiday, you lose momentum for the following month ahead. So you need to have the right. I mean, I believe so hugely in the fact that it's not just your partner, but it's your mental health, it's your physical health. Because if you don't have the right energy, it's difficult to work the long hours.
Yep.
You need to have that internal energy about you to make the phone calls and to share that sort of energy with people when you're dealing with one of their biggest assets. And that's why I really bring in the importance of healthy mind, healthy body, and strong partnerships as well.
And how does that work? I mean, you both train, same my gym as well.
Although we've never noticed him there.
I didn't even know. Never seen him.
I get you back to the original insult.
But how do you balance that? Like, you're working such long hours, you both train. I see him all the time at the gym.
He's pointing out that he's going right.
I work out. But how do you balance that? Like, family, long hours.
Because so many
and
people want to
active.
leave the industry
It's hard.
because of the balance.
Yeah.
So tell us.
It's hard.
Well, for me personally, it's about, and I'm not a morning person at all. Like, if I wasn't working, I'd stay up all night and sleep all day. But because of real estate, you have to, you have to make compromises and sacrifices. So for me, if I want to go to the gym, it has to be 6 to 6:45.
Yeah.
So you have to go to the gym in the morning where you can't be distracted or you can't be thrown off.
Yeah.
That's the
I
only
agree
way to
with
get
that.
it done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm probably the opposite. I've really struggled to train in the morning, and you listen to all these podcasts and read all these books, and it's like, to be successful you have to be up at 5 a.m. God, I hope that's not true.
Obviously not.
Never be me, I'm sorry. But I think it's just establishing non-negotiables for yourself and setting boundaries and healthy boundaries. I've got morning rituals that I like to try and stick to, what I'm listening to, what's between my ears, what I'm reading, what I'm putting putting, into my mind, etc. Like I think all of that's really important. So to have those boundaries, to have the non-negotiables of when you're going to train, and no excuses sort of attitude, I think is really, really important. But I think, it's hard to have work-life balance, right?
Yeah,
like
really
it is. But we also.
It sounds like it's non-negotiable. You fit
It becomes a lifestyle.
Well, that's exactly
Exactly.
right.
It's a lifestyle.
And if you don't love it and you don't know why you're doing it, of course. Like, of course it's going to feel like you have no balance. And guys, I find it difficult at the moment with the recruitment market because we're seeing astronomical turnover in the industry. And the biggest reason agents want to leave is the lack of balance.
Yeah.
They want their Saturdays back. They want to, whatever it is, but it's work-life balance that they're really struggling with. But that's where I think it comes back down to why you're doing it.
Desire.
Desire.
What's your why?
It's going to sound a bit controversial, but the way I look at it, if you're looking for work-life balance and you want to be successful in real estate, you've probably got to pick one or the other.
In anything though,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, you know what I mean?
In any profession.
100%. And like for me, if I get a phone call 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, I'll pick it up. But I don't feel like, I've got no life. I'm
That's part of your
claustrophobic.
life.
It's part of real estate.
Yeah.
But other people might feel like, I want to be able to switch off. In real estate, if you want to climb the ladder, there is no switching off.
There's no switching off. Yeah.
But there's two ways of looking at it. You take the call and go on with your day, or you take
Exactly.
the call and like, oh God, I make this phone call, oh my God, I'm gonna answer this call, to step away.
It's mindset.
Make a part of your lifestyle.
Yeah.
It's not that difficult. You get paid, you can earn more money than surgeons, doctors, lawyers,
Exactly.
unfortunately, Rex. With a very low barrier to entry, all for just being yourself and having the ability to sell a property.
Yeah.
Like it's not rocket science,
Yeah.
but you have to really want it and you have to put in the hours.
Yeah. Well said. Yeah.
Yep.
Officers are the principals that are looking. How do they attract talent like yourselves and groom them and nurture them and make them? How do you get agents like yourself to join?
Well, I think, speaking from my own experience, I think you really need to enter into it and go, why am I hiring this person? Like, what is the purpose of this person being aligned with my brand and in my company? And are you going to help them grow and flourish as an individually and personally and professionally? And if you are, that's great. But if you're just going to throw them a phone book and say, start prospecting, that's not really guiding or mentoring or helping anybody. I think people need to, like I touched on before, really learn to master the basics, and they will then find their own path, whatever that looks like for them ultimately, right? Because everyone's an individual. But, you have to be able to help your staff and have the desire to help your staff succeed as well. I think that's really important.
Yep, spot on. I think for me, it's more about attitude. So someone could be really, really highly skilled, but if their attitude wrong, I'd rather have someone who's got a horrible skill set but a fantastic attitude, because you can always teach.
You can teach.
I know it's a bit cliche, but
Yeah.
you can always teach them the skills they need. So when I was younger, 22, 23, 24, I always had the hardworking sort of drive, but I was very unpolished. And I feel like...
And now you're polished?
I was just going to say, do I know you well enough to say that?
So this is the polished product. You want that. So when you hire that agent, don't look for the most polished person with a shitty attitude. Look for someone who might be a bit of a rough diamond, but he or she really wants to make it in what they're doing.
Yeah. You can't train work ethic, I think.
It's attitude.
It's attitude.
You can't train attitude.
Exactly.
You can train for the skill. But do you think it's also about identifying, when you were both interviewing with Buxton and Woodards, what sort of questions what attracted you to those brands, as opposed to, because I know with you in particular, there were definitely other agencies that were trying to get you on board. Yeah. And Alec, I mean, I don't know about you, probably started there.
I was in the last resort. I was clutching his feels.
What degree did that interview?
I was a lost dog at the kennel.
What degree did that interview and those directors have, and your say in joining that particular brand?
Well, for me, I actually bought through Buxton. So that's how I kind of came across them. We bought our first home from them, and I had such a good experience. And I really identified Buxton as having just astronomical market share in the areas that I was living and working in. So, for me, it was a no-brainer. I was really clear with Shani. I did not want to go to anyone else. I was like, call Arthur. call Buxton, and these are the only people that I want to go and work with. But at the time, they had two really strong females working for them, Sophie Dobson and Zoe Cherry, who's still there, and I get to work alongside her every day, and I'm so grateful because she's also a mentor to me. And I think having good staff around you as well as your directors is really, really important. But for me, I identified, two key female players, and I was like, gosh, if they can do it, like hopefully I can too. So that was really inspiring for me. Thank you.
And yourself, Alec?
And I'm being completely candid here. At that point in my career, I was getting rejected left, right and centre. And I had a job opportunity and I took it by hands. And I kind of fell into it. And it was the most luckiest, fortunate thing to ever happen in my life. Because
But you worked as well.
Sorry?
You worked.
I worked my butt off, but lucky I landed at Woodards, Manningham.
It was really the last resort for
It was the last resort. And, they've been amazing to me and hopefully I've been amazing back to them. So it's gone both ways. So it was very fortunate.
I think both of you, I know both of your directors exceptionally well, and I've had the pleasure of working with both of them. And I work with a lot of different real estate directors on the market, and I can hand on heart say both of you have two of the most phenomenal leaders in the industry as your directors and mentors.
Yep.
And they genuinely care about their staff. And no doubt they deal with the trials and tribulations and ups and downs because they are human beings, but they are absolute leaders in their industry. They want their team to succeed, and you're both in such great hands with the leadership that you have. So you should be so proud of what you've achieved, but also so grateful for the directors that you have in place. Because a lot of agents don't have what you guys have.
For sure.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, well said.
Any last pieces of advice that you guys would like to give to agents that are potentially struggling right now that would look to you two for advice?
I would say if you are struggling, and I've got a lot of experience in this, the more you are struggling, the more you are sort of beaten down and rejected or maybe not making in life, stop looking external, stop blaming others, look at yourself and ask yourself, are you really doing everything you possibly can? And, if you got 2 or 3 in a row who telling you're not going to make it, or 2 or 3 who telling you you're not 4. It doesn't mean it's the end. But also, it goes both ways. Yes, I was mentored well, but sometimes you have to look at yourself and go, you know what? Yes, I can say he didn't give me the mentorship. He didn't give me mentorship. At some point, you got to turn around and point the finger at yourself and go, you know what? It's up to me.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm probably not mature enough, or I'm not putting enough effort in. And sometimes you got to burn the boats, as they say, and just say, all right, no second chance. No backup option. I want to make this work. Hell or leather. Hell or leather. Say that again. Hell or leather.
Fantastic.
Yeah. No, look, I agree with everything that you've said. I'd also just touch on a lot of agents get into real estate and my advice would be don't go broke trying to look rich either. And I think that's something that really doesn't get touched on enough in our industry. Just because you've had a good 6 months, you do not need to go out and buy a brand new Mercedes-Benz or something like that. You can continue to drive your car, go and do things that are going to set you up for future success, because there is nothing worse than having serious financial pressure around you. You start to make decisions, I think, that are not always in the best interest of the client. And Alec, as Alec said, just look within and, make sure that you are doing the work day in and day out. I had a really quiet end to my year last year, and it's because I was getting married. So I wasn't, thank you, I wasn't, I wasn't working as hard as I usually do. And I did really take my foot off the gas, and I really paid for that at the start of this year. And so, 8 weeks ago, I was hitting the phones, prospecting, just going back to absolute key fundamental basics. And, now I've had an amazing couple of weeks and I'm super grateful. So, yeah, just stay in your lane, stay focused, stay humble.
Stay humble.
Yeah.
You're looking at me.
Everyone's looking at
I'm the king of failure, remember?
I was looking at this guy in his olive suit.
I'm talking about my failures all session.
We really got chalk and cheese on here, didn't we?
Thank you both for coming on the show.
No,
thank you
for
so
having
much.
us. Yes,
both
I've had a ball.
This should be
Incredible
ticked
people
right
as
on our
well.
goal
This
list.
is number 6. Unofficial number 6.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's good to see where the future of real estate's going.
Thank you. Thanks for
Both
having
looking
us.
forward to seeing what the future holds for both of you.
Thank
as
you.
well.
We'll be back in 12 months.
We will be. I love the show. Long time listener. First time caller.
Fantastic. Well, thanks again so much,
Thank
Natalie
you.
and Alec, and we look forward to watching all of your future successes. And thank you so much for tuning in for another episode of Real Estate Renovators.